That giant against your life. There is something that seems like a giant in front of you. It's loud and brash and taunts you continually. It's doing everything it can to keep you from getting where you know you're supposed to be. You try to ignore it, but it keeps talking and talking. You just want it to go away, but there it stands. It might be a medical diagnosis, a job loss, financial struggles, a troubled relationship, insecurity or fear. Or it could be sin or addiction. Whatever you're experiencing, you know you're facing a Goliath when it is a hindrance between you and the promises of God, which lead to an all-round victorious life. Your Goliath is anything that curses and mocks you every day. God has one thing scheduled for you: victory. But you can't have a victory without a battle or a struggle. Your victory is called the Goliath promotion. Here's how it works. 1. That giant is an opportunity. Samuel 17 verse 26 says, "What will be done for the man who kills this Philistine and removes this disgrace from Israel?" It's easy to look at Goliath as a thorn in your side that needs removing. But if you want to experience the Goliath promotion, you've got to learn to see a Goliath as an opportunity. David asked, "What will be done for the man who kills this Philistine and removes this disgrace from Israel?" He didn't see Goliath as an adversary. He saw him as an opportunity, and he already had his eyes on the reward. It was probably good motivation when the answer was, "The king will give great wealth to the man who kills him. He will also give him his daughter in marriage and will exempt his family from taxes in Israel." When you are faced with a trial or hardship, you have a choice: cower or contend. You are called, just like David was, to confront and conquer your Goliath, to run toward it, not away from it. But you first have to see a Goliath as an opportunity for promotion. The only thing that can rob you of it is fear. 2. That giant is a test. Samuel 17 verse 36. "Your servant has killed both lion and bear." Goliath wasn't the first challenge David faced. He had passed the test in fighting both a lion and a bear and prevailed. Now he faced another test, a 9-foot 6-inch giant with armor and weapons. A Goliath is a test of our faith. Tests tell us where we are in life, just as a test tells a student how well he or she is doing. How do you respond to the Goliaths in your life? Responding with timidity, hesitation, or fear tells you there's work to be done in the area of developing your trust in God's love for you. Don't let that condemn you, but let it inspire you to pursue the kind of boldness and courage that comes from a place of deep understanding of His love and goodness toward you. Take a lesson from David. Don't ever run from your Goliath. Run toward it in the name of the Lord. That kind of bold faith always takes home the prize. 3. A giant's test will set you apart. 1 Samuel 17 verse 11. Saul and all the Israelites were dismayed and terrified. Goliath had been taunting Israel's army day and night for 40 days. And all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him and were dreadfully afraid. All the men of Israel were afraid, except David. In fact, he told Saul, "Don't worry about it, I'll take care of it." Think about it. The scriptures say that Saul was head and shoulders taller than anyone else in Israel. 1 Samuel 9 verse 2. He was also known throughout the land as a great warrior. So it's likely that Goliath, when he was calling for just one man to come fight him, was referring to Saul. David wasn't even a soldier in the army. He was last in line to take care of the situation. Plus, he was just a teenager, a boy, as Goliath called him. But he was willing to do what no one else was. This sets him apart. A Goliath will set you apart too. How? When no one else is willing to take a stand, you are. When no one else is anointed to lead, you are. When everyone else accepts sickness, you don't. When everyone else embraces death, you stand in faith for provision. When everyone else is complaining and speaking defeat, you've already declared the victory. The Goliath promotion requires that you look different from everyone else when faced with challenging circumstances. But you can't do it in your own strength. David knew that, which is why he said, I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty. 1 Samuel 17:25. 4. A giant is defeated by your words. 1 Samuel 17:46. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and I'll strike you down and cut off your head. Goliath had a big mouth. Your Goliath likely does too. It's telling you how sick you are, how broke you are, how you never have that dream in your heart, how what you want isn't realistic, how too much time has passed, how you're not good enough. Goliath is mean and nasty. But if you keep your eyes in the right perspective, you'll remember that Goliath is nothing but a bunch of words, unless you agree with him. When David's Goliath was finished taunting him, he moved to threaten him, saying, Come here, and I'll give your flesh to the birds and the wild animals. In the natural, that sure looked like it was true. But David didn't take him seriously because he was focused on something much greater, the power of his God. How is your Goliath threatening you? More importantly, what are you saying back? Your Goliath is talking to you through symptoms, past due notices, doctor's reports, rejection letters. On top of that, there will always be people who will tell you why your Goliath cannot be defeated. When David told Saul he will fight Goliath, Saul replied, You are not able to go out against this Philistine and fight him. You are only a young man, and he has been a warrior from his youth. 1 Samuel 17:33. You have to do what David did. Answer back. He said, The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine. He wouldn't entertain words of doubt and unbelief. He kept his thoughts and words in line with what he knew about his God. Take time to remember how God has delivered you out of all your trials. Rehearsing the time God has rescued you and delivered you and set your feet upon a rock will build your faith for victory in what you're facing today. Then you'll be well equipped to talk back to every Goliath in your life with bold faith, knowing that Goliath is defeated by your faith-filled words, bringing you closer to your Goliath promotion. 5. A Goliath must answer to the covenant. 1 Samuel 17:46. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands. How was David able to be so certain that he would prevail against an impossible foe? Because he was aware of his covenant with God. He knew from experience that his covenant was bigger than any lion, bear, or giant that came his way. He trusted in that covenant of protection, provision, and blessing. If you're born again, you have a covenant with the same God David did. You can defeat any Goliath in your life when you remember that your Goliath must answer to the covenant. The covenant has already overcome every sin, sickness, disease, lack, or hardship. As long as you focus on your Goliath, it will continue to intimidate you. But when you get your eyes on your covenant with Almighty God, focusing on His promises, you'll be in line to receive that giant promotion. Grace, and stay blessed.